Hello, hello. Today I'm going to be talking about how to define success in the modern day. What I mean by that is, I'm sure we've all thought about this at least once before, but looking up at our parents, or especially our grandparents, and I think a lot of us have this idea of like, well, look at how much money they made. Look at them. They were able to buy a house or maybe even two, and they had money left over for to give as inheritance or to go on nice vacations and to do all these things. And I think a lot of us look up at our older generations, especially the very older generations, like the boomers and silent generation, and we're like, we will never achieve that same level of success. I think a lot of us get trapped in this very, very valid mentality of like the world and economic situation and all these long list of things that you don't need me to say to understand what I'm talking about. All of these hardships, I think a lot of people are like, it's just impossible. It's just impossible for me to succeed like my parents did or like my grandparents did. A lot of people say, the American dream is dead. And how can I succeed when it feels like no one can succeed? So today we're going to talk about redefining success as a concept. And I think this is important because while there's lots of very, very valid criticism of reasons to, be afraid and reasons to, you know, feel hopeless in the face of adversity, we have to make do with what we have. And it's important to find happiness in the hardest moments of our life, right? So, with that said, I kind of want to start first with I think, a very relatable analogy with Minecraft. I have to imagine the majority of people watching this video have either played Minecraft before or at the bare minimum are at least familiar with aspects of it, right? And if not Minecraft, any video game. But I want you to think of like the original 1.0 version of Minecraft. Like, what could you do in that? You could probably build some stuff. You could maybe make wooden or stone tools, but there wasn't netherite, there wasn't villagers, there wasn't different dimensions like the nether or the ender dragon. There was none of that. What success looked like for people in the very first version of Minecraft was who could just build the coolest house? Who could build the coolest anything? Maybe who could mine the most, iron or get the most wood. And that's what success was. And that was it. It was simple, but that's what success was. Fast forward a couple updates, maybe say whenever they added the Nether or the Wither boss, the first boss. And and you know, success looks different then. Because now you've got a goal of, well, now I can make diamond armor. Now I can go to a totally different dimension. Now I can fight a boss and kill it, and I can be victorious, and I can still do things in previous versions like build the coolest house, make the coolest farm, and that could be my version of success. But now I have other options, other avenues of success. Success doesn't look the same. Fast forward to current gen of Minecraft. Maybe success for you looks like beating the Ender Dragon. Maybe success for you looks like beating the Warden or beating all of the bosses or collecting all the achievements or speedrunning the game or I mean the list just goes on. But the point I'm trying to make is every version or every generation of Minecraft, success looked different and success was defined differently. And that's the exact same with human generations. Success was different for the baby boomers as it is for millennials, as it is for Gen Z, as it is for Gen Alpha. Success just looks different, no matter how you slice it. Now, I think the very obvious concession is with video games as an example. I think a lot of people would immediately say, okay, well, every major update to a video game is seen as, for the most part, a strict upgrade. It's a strictly better version of a game, for the most part, with strictly newer and more options. Very rarely are you getting a major update to a game that's taking away major options, right? It's almost always expanding your horizons, not thinning them. Whereas I feel like a lot of people today are like, as generations are going, have come on, the Gen X have had less options of success compared to the boomers, and Gen Z has even less options, and Gen Alpha has even less than they do. And so that's the obvious concession we have to make, right? So not exactly a one-to-one analogy, but regardless if you're playing very first version of Minecraft or new gen Minecraft or any of the versions in between, at the time that those versions were out, that's the version you got to play. If you're playing first generation of Minecraft, you can't just choose to, can we fast forward these updates 10 years in the future? Can I just fight the Ender Dragon already? It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Point I'm trying to make is whatever version of Minecraft you're stuck in, whatever generation of life you're living in watching this video, you didn't get a choice. You didn't get to choose what your success looks like. So your two options are either you can sulk and be miserable about it for forever, and rightfully so in a lot of regards, seeing what other versions or other people have, or you can make the most of what you have. You can define success for the parameters that are given to you, right? Yeah, it sucks whenever you can see other generations thriving in large portions of wealth, and it seems like like perfect happiness that's unattainable for newer generations of people, but success just looks different. And I think if you use that mentality, it can help relieve some of the mental burden for sure. But let's move on. Like, how do we actually redefine success? What does that actually mean? I think the best way to do this is to start small. Like, think about your core beliefs as a person. What are the things that matter the most to you? What I like to think of as hobbies and passions. What is most important to you? Maybe you're an artist, you're somebody who loves to draw and paint. Maybe you're a musician who loves to play the piano, and you've got a lot of goal piano pieces you want to play eventually one day whenever you're better. Maybe you're a runner and your goal is to be able to run that one marathon that you know is going to take years of training, like the Boston Marathon. If only you're fast enough, one day you'll be able to run it. Or maybe you just like watching basketball. Maybe you really like watching March Madness. You've got your team, and that's what makes you happy, is watching basketball and even showing up to games in person if you can. Or maybe video games are your escape. Playing new games, logging lots of hours. Maybe that's what makes you happy. Point is, find your hobbies, find your passions, find things that matter. Family too. Say maybe you really want to be a father or a mother one day. Maybe you really just want to have somebody one day. You want to have somebody to come home to and somebody to go out with. You want to have somebody that's the first thing on your mind when you wake up and the last thing on your mind when you go to bed, right? Those are all very legitimate goals and passions, goals, hobbies that mean a lot to you. Now, yeah, think of those utmost reach goals for those hobbies. So if you're a musician, think of those reach pieces that you really want to play one day. If you're a sports fan, what would mean the most to you? Is it seeing your favorite team win the Super Bowl or whatever, or is it actually getting to go in person and see that Super Bowl, or is it maybe you have some bands you want to go see? Whatever. What are your goals, right? What what are the things you want to accomplish in life? What is that thing where it's like, once I achieve this, I can die happy? Make a list of those. Make lists of all of these, right? And once you've done all that, now you can start building the framework of success. I think the easy and obvious thing for a lot of people is they're like, okay, well, once I have X amount of money, then I can finally be happy because I have that security. Once I have X amount of money, I can finally start living. Once I have X amount of money, I can finally buy a home, or I could retire, or I could have children, or once I have X amount of money, I can finally start traveling. And the harsh reality is like, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I want to say it's like, and today, 2026, like the average age for a first time home buyer is like in their 40s compared to 2 generations ago when that was like early 30s, and late 20s. You look at China, I want to say they're, again, don't quote me exactly on this, but I want to say their first time house buying age is in their 20s. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people, it's like, I can't be happy until I have this security. I can't let myself see the whole world and go travel until I have that security or until I'm retired. I can't go to the Super Bowl or, make the time to play this piece until I've got that security. But whenever you're that old, you're not going to enjoy it the same. And that's the hard problem, right? If your goal is to run Boston Marathon, you can't start training at age 65 once you're retired. You kind of got to do that while you're young and spry, while you're capable. And so that's a pretty tricky, balancing act. But the thing is, it's doable. It is possible. It is absolutely possible to travel, to train, exercise, to support your favorite team, to play music, all of these things, artwork, you can make time for. If you work 12-hour shifts, I know you're absolutely exhausted whenever you come home. And whenever you wake up in the morning, you're dreading going to work. Absolutely, I get it. But find the happiness and the joy in between those moments. If your 12-hour shift starts at 8 a.m., you better be waking up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. to get that run in. If your dream is to be a runner, you better be waking up just just the 1 hour earlier to get your piano practice in, to spend some time painting, to do whatever it is. Maybe to just watch the highlights of your favorite team. And the thing is, a lot of these hobbies, I'd say very few of these hobbies are extremely expensive hobbies. Again, if your hobby is, I want to be the greatest, or just a really good, I don't know, blanking on a really expensive hobby off the top of my head, but insert really expensive hobby. Okay, I get it. Or maybe say like you really want to, you buy like lots of expensive paints or something. I get it. But you can still spend that time working on, you know, your fundamentals that you can do with just a pencil or just the cheapest paint. And then at the end of the week or the end of the month, whenever you have just the extra little bit of 20, $40 that you can save up on a week by week, month by month basis, then you can do the little splurges here and there. Point I'm trying to make is, if you were to wake up tomorrow and your life is over, would you be proud of what you've accomplished? Would you would you feel like you succeeded in life? Would you feel like you accomplished all you wanted to accomplish? And I think the very resounding answer for the majority of the audience that sees this video is probably no. It's probably no. And that's a problem. Because I know it's probably going to be no whenever you hit 20. It'll probably be no whenever you hit 30. And it might still be no whenever you hit 40. And then that's that's potentially half your life gone, half like that's almost all of your young life gone, right? So again, not trying to be very doomer, you know, super sad, whatever about it. But what I'm saying is you need to find time for your dreams. You need to find time. Even if your dream is to travel and to see the world, there is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, to go and travel and see the world very, very, very cheap. Absolutely, there is. You can take your paid time off and you can go on a weekend or just 3-day trips and just stay in hostels and, I mean, pack your own lunch and food for these entire trips and I mean go in just your normal everyday clothes. You don't have to buy anything special or do anything special. And if you want to take longer trips, then you can pick up part-time work in these countries. You can accomplish your goal. Maybe I think what I want to end in this off with saying is, if this is really your passion, if this is something you really care about, if this is something that really matters to you, you'll find time for it. I'm a firm believer that the things that matter most in your life, you will make time for. And if you don't make time for it, then you're just watching your own life flash before your eyes. You're watching the days, the months, the years slip between your fingers. And you gotta take advantage of the time you have. Live every day like it's your last, and make every moment count. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. Yeah, yeah, that's about it. This was defining success in the modern day. I hope y'all enjoyed. If this video resonated with you at all, you can subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment. If you have any video suggestions, I've got plenty that I'll be covering in the future. But if there's topics you wanna see me cover, leave a comment. Let me know. I I'm a small enough channel that I can cover just about anything within reason. So you say the word and your soul shall be healed. All right. So yeah. And then I also have a Twitch if you want to go follow me on my Twitch, same as my YouTube panel. It'll be in the description. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. That's all. Peace.